If you did a hard hike or a backpacking trip, there's a good chance you'll wake up the next day pretty sore, like I currently am. And what is often neglected is our recovery processes after these hard activities. So we're just gonna go through a quick little recovery routine that'll help you to feel less sore the next day and to get you back on the trails even faster. You really don't need much for this routine. I recommend having a mat of some sort, and we'll use a little foam roller. And you can follow along as I do this as well. Oh, look, we have a special guest joining us in recovery as well. Just for a second, apparently. So when it comes to recovery, let's start from the ground up. Our feet are extremely important, and most people don't do much to help them out at all. So what we're gonna do, take off your shoes if you have some on, and you're gonna take your fingers, your thumbs, and you're gonna start by massaging the plantar fascia, which is at the bottom of the feet. And if you find spots that are nice and tender, those are the spots that you wanna work a little bit more. My feet actually feel pretty good, surprisingly. And then after that, what I like to do is I grab different sections of my foot and I start working them opposite directions. You have a bunch of bones in your foot, and they're all made to move. And a lot of times they get stiff and beat up, and they start to stiffen up, and you want to give them that movement back. So I'm moving my forefoot back and forth like this. I get my thumbs down into the center of my foot, and then I take my heel and I go side to side. And then I start wringing out my foot as if it's a towel with water in it. It all feels pretty good. Sometimes if I feel like my big toe is really stiff, and I grab it and I shake it and I pull out with it, and that will usually loosen it up quite a bit. Now we always want to do the other side as well. One side might feel good and the other one might not feel nearly as good. So we'll start with the big toe and then start massaging into the plantar fascia. This right foot definitely is a little more sore, which means it was probably working harder on the hike yesterday than the left. We're getting in there and then making our way down to the heel. The heel, especially if you do a lot of running, tends to get really stiff, and that's actually what really turns the foot on, because when the foot hits the ground, your heel goes a certain way, it loosens up the foot, and then as your body swings through, the heel goes the other way, and then it locks up your foot so you have something to propel off of. Just some added information for you. So the feet feel pretty good. Now I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna take the roller, and I know my calf is super tight. So when it comes to the roller, what you're doing is you're trying to move slowly along these muscle areas, muscle bodies. And if you find a spot that's tender, spend time there. Let it kind of relax into it and melt. So like right there, do small movements on there. You can lift your full body weight into it. Sometimes just adding pressure with your other leg is enough. That way your arms don't get tired in the process. Woo. Yeah, right there is a really good spot. So like my hike yesterday was really steep, which requires a lot of calf and a lot of quad. And this quad specifically is gonna really hurt. That's feeling a lot better. We'll put some pressure into the left side. Let's see if there's any spots. And there's different parts of the calf that you want to hit. You want to try to hit the middle, and then the outside, and then the inside. Like right there, the middle is way more tender. And we'll call that good. We'll start bringing it up to right about the knee. And then we're gonna come onto our forearm, start above the knee. And this one I know is nobody's favorite, the IT band. Same thing, you're moving slow until you find a good spot and just kind of hanging out. IT bands are usually pretty painful for majority of people. It doesn't get a whole lot of love. And we'll switch. Now for you, you might want to spend more time on stuff, which is totally fine. I'm just going through all this quickly so you kind of have an idea what to do. But spend as much time as you need for everything to start feeling better. My left IT is not nearly as bad. All right, we'll call that good. And a lot of times I would roll my quad, which I'll show you real quick. You just lay on here and you can rock back and forth. But because my quads are so sore, we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna set this aside for a moment. We're gonna be in a kneeling position, and then stepping one leg up, you're gonna tuck your tailbone, and that'll get way more into your quad and hip flexor. If it's not as much as you want, then that same side arm, you raise up, and then you drive your hips forward, trying to keep that tailbone tucked. And you have tension here, and then you can do a little side to side with your arm. That creates more tension, and all of our muscles work in 3 different planes of motion. Most stretching that you see only works 1 plane of motion. So adding in these other elements, rotation, side to side, really gets more into those muscles and stretches them even more. So we can bring this hand down and then arms out like zombie arms, and then rotate towards this side and then back. We can go this side as well and back. Now, if you're really flexible, I'm not, you can always reach back and grab that foot and get as upright as possible. This actually feels really good. My right side is the side that's probably not going to be able to do this, but we will see. And then slowly release that foot. Since we're already here, we're going to straighten out this front leg, bring the toes up towards the sky, and fold forward. And you're trying to fold from the hips, because that will get way more into the hamstrings. If you're just sagging through your upper body, then you're stretching other stuff and not targeting specifically the hamstring. If you need something, you can use this roller to keep yourself upright so you can hinge at the hips. You can always drop this down so you have something to touch. Then from here, windshield wipe your toes nice and slow. And that's pretty good. We'll go ahead and switch. Kneeling on the other side, again, tuck your tailbone, driving your hips forward until you have nice tension through the hip flexors and into the quad. And then your arm comes up, straight up overhead, and then side bend, side to side. That feels pretty good. You always want to keep that tension on there. Now arms come straight out. We'll rotate towards the other leg, back to center, and then rotate towards the back leg, and back to center. Okay, we'll see how this goes. Reaching back. Oh, not very good. And like I said, you're trying to get as upright as possible. That's not too bad. And you can do little wiggles with your foot here too to get more into that quad. And then slowly release, and then straighten out that other leg, toes up, and then folding from the waist. Ooh, this hamstring is tight. I already feel like my legs are loosening up quite a bit though. And then windshield wipers with your toes. And like I talked about earlier, the windshield wiping gets into different planes of motion for your hamstring. So you'll notice maybe one direction stretches a different part of your hamstring, and then the other stretches another part. And that's pretty good there. Now we're gonna turn the roller, and we're gonna sit down on top of it. We're gonna take one leg and cross over the other. Then we're gonna get into the glute here in piriformis. Which isn't too bad. Right there's a nice spot. And we'll go ahead and switch. We're almost there. And I promise you, you'll stand up and you'll be like, this was worth it. 100% worth it. Even if it takes 10 minutes. Woo. Okay, now the final thing. When you're walking with a pack on, you have all this pressure on your back, but then a lot of times, if you're like me, you're looking down to make sure your feet are stepping on the right spots without tripping and all that stuff. So you're spending all this time kind of hunched. So we want to open that up. Now, since we're doing the roller on your spine, you want to get it mid-back and up and above these floating ribs. And start with your knees bent, feet flat. Hands are supporting your head, and you're dropping your neck and your head back. You'll probably notice there's some spots where it's really uncomfortable. When you find those spots, you want to take a couple deep breaths. To see if that'll start loosening things up. And then come out of the bend, slide down a little bit further, and do it again. Come out of the bend, slide down a little bit more, and lean back. A couple deep breaths. Exhale. One more inhale. And exhale. Slowly come out of there. I already feel a lot better. So hopefully you enjoyed that. This is just one of many ways that you can recover. I do a lot of stuff with massage guns, so if you want to see a video on that, then let me know down in the comments. And also make sure that you're hydrating like crazy, getting electrolytes in as well, so that you're not just waterlogging yourself. And magnesium or Epsom salt baths, or both, are also great ways to get your muscles to relax. So I hope you enjoyed this little recovery trick. And after you try this, let me know down in the comments how you feel.